inshallah.
This is usually where I follow on and then talk about exactly what we disagree on. But where do I put this? Sorry. But instead today I'm going to speak about, if I can sort this out. Clearly I didn't wear the right clothes for this. Today instead I'm going to speak about how to teach Shi'ism. I've picked one specific topic, which is what Zamir mentioned earlier, which was, I don't know why I'm looking at the PowerPoint, sorry, bad habit, which is about the moment in Islamic history that caused this divide, the Prophet's death, the friction. So I have a handout for you, which you are more than happy to scribble on because you will get a copy to download later. So if you could just hand that out. Once you get, yeah, you could do that. I should have done that when everybody was getting seats, but I have nowhere to put this. I have no pockets.
Just in the bag.
Worst clothes to wear right now. Okay, so the differences that we have, I say we, just to clarify, that Sunnis and Shias have, we can talk about those in the questions if you have any questions about any things that I potentially might not agree with on what Zamir said from a Sunni perspective. But if you look at the handout, once you get it, you notice that the lesson focus is on the Prophet's death. So what happened following on from when the Prophet died. By no means does this lesson mean this is exactly how you're supposed to teach it. It's just an idea on how me and Zamir, we spoke about it and we said that this is more or less how we'd approach that topic. So this session, you've just listened to Zamir talk a lot for half an hour. This one's going to be a little bit more interactive. So I'm going to actually get you to try and do some of the activities that I've got on this. So this is on the Prophet's death. The very first thing that I'd start off with if I was teaching this to my, and I did actually in fact teach this to my year 9 just yesterday, the first thing that I start off with is a quick think, pair, share on what are the qualities that you think make a good leader. So I'm going to give you 1 minute to just talk to the person next to you, come up with at least 3 points on 3 qualities that you think make a good leader. So you've got 1 minute starting now. Yeah, get rid of it. Yeah, it's distracting because I keep looking at it. Sorry, I'm clearly not holding this, right? Sorry. Huh? I haven't.
It's rubbing against your clothes.
Oh shit! Sorry, where can I put it?
Just anywhere so it's like.
Sorry.
You can just hold the material.
I have nothing but material right now. Is there? That's gonna muffle it.
Yeah. Maybe on top of the scarf, like. Yes.
Right, this is so bad. Is that better?
That should be.
Is that better?
Yes. Okay. I'll just wave at you if I start touching.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay, if I could have everyone's attention back, thank you. It feels really odd. I'm used to doing this with kids, not adults.
I will be worse.
Oh, please don't. I don't have to be giving out sanctions right now. Right, so would anyone like to give me some of the qualities that they've come up with? What makes a good leader? Any ideas? Or should I start picking on people? Right, you said that you're going to be worse, so you give me one. Yeah.
Well, we came up with the fair we thought something is to be inclusive. Somebody who can draw people from different backgrounds together.
Okay.
So that they share a common purpose.
That's a really good one. Somebody who's inclusive who can bring others together. Can you give me one?
We talked about inspirational.
Inspirational. Awesome. Somebody from this side?
Very knowledgeable.
Knowledgeable. So somebody who knows their stuff. So those are the sort of things that you get the kids to come up with. When I did it with my year 9s, I had a picture of Donald Trump up there just to kind of get them thinking about who they wouldn't want as a potential leader, because all of my students know about Donald Trump. They're following the presidential elections. So if you notice in my lesson, it actually does follow the structure of an election. So one thing that I really like to do when I'm teaching is storytelling, because I think most religions have loads of different stories in them, so it really engages the students. So when I taught this yesterday, what I did with the students, I won't ask you to do this, but I asked them to simply close their eyes and imagine that they're in 7th century Arabia. The prophets just died. So you've got this situation where the leader of the community has just passed away. the person that everyone went to for guidance, the person who was essentially that knowledgeable person, the inspirational person, the one who was bringing everybody together. They've just died. Now, that is, for, I'm pretty sure Shias would say as well, Sunni Muslims describe it as the most traumatic thing that has happened in the history ever. Sorry, I forgot in the history of what. So it's the most traumatic thing that's ever happened. There's nothing that's happened worse than that. You've lost your spiritual religious leader. So I asked him to think, okay, imagine you are in that context. What do you think should happen next? What do you do next? You've got two potential candidates. You've got Ali and Abu Bakr. And on the sheet you'll see I've got a few brief points about who these people are. You've got Ali, who is the cousin of the Prophet and also his daughter's husband, who's quite young, who's known for his bravery, who is known for his quite intelligent as well. Don't know why I asked you that. He's quite intelligent. And then you've got Abu Bakr, who is known as the Prophet's best friend, the man who supported him when he left Mecca, the man who the Prophet got to lead the prayers when he was ill. You've got these two candidates. Who do you choose? So what I asked with my students was using that information for them to come up with a speech, because we made it like an election style lesson, a speech on who they think should be the next leader, the next successor. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to just talk amongst you and come to a conclusion, because you're going to vote on who you think should have been the next successor, Ali or Abu Bakr. So you've got 2 minutes starting now. Sorry? I don't like this. I don't like this. I hate talking.
It's good, I love it.
No.
It's good.
No. By the way, you're taking account of how many people say Ali and how many people say Abu Bakr. Should we use that? I'm scared that I'm going to drop it.
Like a try thing.
No, I didn't move it. I should have used it. Yeah. I'm going to be really quick because I'm just whizzing through.
Do you want to kick it back out?
Yo, the tripod.
Make it stand.
It's alright.
Are you doing tally?
Yeah. Because in the lesson, vote and then look at the evidence and then come back to it. Because you know my entire class changed from Abu Bakr in the first to Ali at the end. Once they looked at the evidence. No, they're not right. Isn't that right? Has it been 2 minutes? 2 more seconds. I'm okay for time, right? I'm
I don't know
literally.
what time we started, this is the problem. I won't check my
I think it
time.
was like 10:50.
We started late. Oh, it's alright, we're doing alright.
It's alright. Okay, if I could have everyone's attention back towards the front. Thank you. This is also a personal thing because me and Zamir have just been having a little disagreement over who we think should have been the leader. So we're going to leave it to you to decide. You know.
I know, sorry.
Yes. Thank you. He knows who should have been leader. Right. Sorry. That just went dead there. Right, so I'm going to ask you to just, for a show of hands, show who you think should have been the leader, and Zamir is going to keep a tally of it, and we come back to it at the end of the session, not the lesson. So if you think Abu Bakr should have been the leader, can you put your hand up? Nobody? Oh. 10. It's quite sad. How many people do we have here? I knew I should have gone first. This always happens. He always goes first and like gets everyone. Right. Hands up who thinks it should have been Ali.
14, I've counted roughly 15.
14. Majority here, Zamir.
What can I say?
Only here. Yes.
I'll be sat on the fence.
I'm sitting on
Okay, so hands up who's still in between. Oh, we've got quite a few people. Quite a few people. In 7. Okay.
Yes, I thought you had to make a decision.
Can we just clarify?
Yeah.
We were just discussing. So was Muhammad heard to have said, "I want Ali to be my successor"?
This is where we differ. Do Shias say?
We believe categorically, there's no question about it. He said it to everyone. He particularly said it's on the spec, the incident of Ghadir.
And I've
Okay.
got that on the sheet
And
as
you've got on
well.
the sheet. He announced to all of his companions, whoever I'm the master, Ali is the master. Okay?
Why did
And this is where I say what we interpret that hadith very differently. We see it as simply there was an occasion where the companions complained about Ali to the Prophet, and he corrected that. He basically stood up and said, yes. Sorry.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's fine.
Because that's interesting. So the hadith also important within Shia?
Okay, good question actually. For Shia Islam, when I say the word hadith, it's Prophet Muhammad, Fatima, or 12 Imams.
Whereas we take
Just Prophet.
the Prophet.
No, yeah.
But in terms of narrations,
Yeah.
you also, basically, we take narrations from companions who've been shown to be trustworthy and reliable in their narrations, whereas I think you're a lot more limited in this sort of
We
narration.
have just 14 sources.
Yeah, whereas ours is slightly more broader. We're more inclusive. Right, so where was I before this happened? Lost my train of thought.
Just have a look.
No, it's totally fine. I'm okay with questions. I'd rather you ask questions. Okay, so what I did with the students was you get them to do a vote. They write their speech. You ask them to explain who they think should have been leader and why. And then to add to that, we look at evidence. So we look at, if you flip over to the other side of the sheet, I've given you some different quotes. There's 2 hadiths in there, there's a Quranic verse in there, and they are evidence that are used by either Sunnis or Shias to say that Ali should have been the leader or Abu Bakr should have been the leader. So what I then would get the students to do at this stage is they read through those quotes or the evidence and they sort it out according to which ones are in favor of Ali and which ones are in favor of Abu Bakr. So I'll give you 2 minutes to do that as well, to read through each of them and to sort them out into the categories. If there's any that you're confused about, just... Should have given more than 2 minutes, right? How am I doing for time?
What time are we going to finish? 50, right?
Yeah, I think
It's
so.
27, right? You got
Because I know that they're going to have
yeah,
questions. So you're simply reading through and just deciding which ones are in favor and against. Is it me or is it really hot in here?
It was hot downstairs as well.
Al-Bayt, does that relate to Ali?
Yeah, that's basically the family of the Prophet. So you know when Zamir was saying how there's a quote where the Prophet says, I'm leaving you the Holy Book and the Ahlul Bayt.
Yes.
So the phrase for Ali and all of those, the Imams that he put up are known as Ahlul Bayt, the family. So this one would be in favour of Ali.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm trying to, there's so many of them. I'm an actual executive. I should know, but when you sit at a meeting, there's loads of them.
He was head of the department.
Where's he going?
He's in Huddersfield. He moved house. He's in-laws live there.
Wow. Oh yeah, because he's got 2 kids, right?
He wants to come back to London.
Does he?
He's trying to be ill.
As a teacher?
He's AHT now.
Can he come to my school?
He...
Why?
Your questions.
Oh, sorry.
Is this saying then that really that Muhammad was saying both things? Yes, Ali should be, and also, but the most pious should be. So he left his followers
Well,
with
see,
this conflict.
Sunnis would use that it says that it's not about lineage, because a lot of the arguments for Ali being in charge is that he's from the family of the Prophet, whereas we would take that hadith as going, no, it's about who's the most pious and
In
knowledgeable.
fact, Muhammad left that conflict
Yeah,
for his followers.
he didn't, Sunnis would say he didn't indicate that if anything, he actually indicated that Abu Bakr should have been the leader when he told him to lead the prayers when he was dying. So that's how Sunnis would see it. But it's the problem, one thing you'll notice with this is it's all open to interpretation.
It's not really easy.
It's not. And it's why this conflict has been...
I know very little, so excuse my ignorance.
No, it's totally fine.
But in terms of the things that, like for example, you needing to wear a veil,
Yeah.
does that come through both?
What you mean in both Sunni and Shia? Yes. Both Sunnis and Shias would agree that the command to wear the headscarf is in the Quran. So that's its interpretation. It changes when it comes to what extent. So there's some schools of thought that would say no, a woman should cover her face, but
What school of thought is that?
that would be Hanbali.
So that's a third.
Yeah, so within, he was talking about authorities and where Shias get their sources of information. For Sunni Muslims, you use the Quran and the Hadith, but then obviously the Quran and Hadith don't cover modern day issues. So then you have 4 law schools that developed, which are based on how people interpret it. So one of the law schools would say that a woman who doesn't cover her face, it's like she's naked, but that's a very extreme view. All of the 4 law schools say that a woman has to cover, but the way in which she covers is not defined. So it's that her hair should be covered. I shouldn't be doing that basically. But it changes according to exactly how much. That's it. But all would be in agreement.
Modern interpretations of things.
Some would say yes.
And these come from which?
Both. I was just about to call you year 9, but sorry. I gave you a lot more time than necessary because I realised that those are actually a lot long and quite a bit to read through. So.
Afterwards, ask if there's any primary teachers.
Okay, I will do. I was just like, what? Invading personal space. Sorry. Right, so just what I asked the students to do is once they've identified which ones are in favour of Ali and which ones are in favour of Abu Bakr, they then use that evidence to go back to their speech and add to it. And what happened in my class, and you might find that if you followed this lesson, this is similar to what will happen in yours, is their views changed. So at the start of my lesson, I had probably 50-50 of the class was Abu Bakr, Ali. And then at the end of the lesson, I had all of them Ali. They all shifted that side. So what I asked the students to do is go back to the speech, think about, okay, who do you think should have been the leader using this now? And then if somebody's changed their perspective, they need to explain to me why they changed their viewpoint. Does that make sense? Okay, so you've just read the evidence. I'd like you to now tell me if you still agree to those numbers that we have up on the board. So if you are in favour of Ali, if you think Ali should have been the leader, then please raise your hand. More people?
Same really, 15.
15? Okay, we had one person. Abu Bakr? I've lost people.
And gained one.
And gained one. This is so sad as a Sunni Muslim. 6. And who's still on the fence? Oh, sorry, have I confused you more? As you can see, but this is the point, you can see that this is such a difficult issue. Even the text that we put in front of you, they're open to interpretation. It's about how you interpret it. The way I see it is very different to how Zami sees it. So even if yes?
Sorry, I'm just going to ask if there was a reason why where the quotes come from hasn't been put on the sheet. Because that might have swayed me one way or the other. You told me
I'll be really honest, that was probably just because I rushed that sheet. Sorry. When I do the copy for the download, I'll put the sources on there. Sorry, it was kind of like a really rushed affair. I shouldn't admit that, but yeah. But that is how I would possibly teach that lesson. It is, like Zami said, something that you need to be careful about how you word what you say and whatnot. So when I'm standing in front of the classroom, I try not to make it really obvious, because the students will ask me, oh miss, which one do you think? Are you Sunni or Shia? And I'm just like, that's not what we're doing here, or else they'll try and please me. Yes?
I suppose, again, in Christianity, like the Bible is always weighted much more heavier. So would you not, without being rude, would you not weight the Quranic verses as evidence as being more weighted than those of the Hadith?
See, this is where
That's where I would possibly take some of these.
See, with the situation with Sunni Muslims, you have the Quran, and like Zami said, we look at the Quran, but then the Quran would be very vague about, say, prayer or something like that. Like, it gives the command. But then we look at the hadiths of the Prophet, what the Prophet did and how he behaved, to add to it. So what happens here is we look at the hadith, and so, for example, for Sunni Muslims, they'll say the fact that when the Prophet was dying and he was unable to lead prayer, he asked Abu Bakr to be the person that led the prayer, is an indication that he's supposed to be the leader. because he's the one who's leading the prayer. If he's leading the worship, then clearly the Prophet thinks that he's suitable enough to lead. And there's actually a hadith where Aisha, the Prophet's wife, when he says, you know, tell Abu Bakr to lead the prayer, she goes, are you sure? Should it not be Umar? Because he's known for being a lot more stern, whereas Abu Bakr weeps in prayer. But then the Prophet repeats it and he says, no, it's Abu Bakr. So we take that sort of evidence to go, no, it should be Abu Bakr. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question?
I'll add to that. In the Quran always says, obey God, obey the Prophet.
Yeah.
Obey God, obey the Prophet. Obey God, obey the Prophet.
So we look at both.
So they're both equal weighting. The problem is the Quran is infallible. The Hadith needs to be verified because they were done by man and compiled over centuries. You know? So technically speaking, if all the Hadiths were all accurate and the Quran is accurate for us, it's an easy combination to have. For us, the Quran, okay, that's clear. The Hadith, we need to kind of filter out the good from the bad almost.
You have to verify
what's
all of
verified,
the
because you know, in the Hadith collection, after Prophet Muhammad's death, and even during, people used to write things about him who didn't like him, and that got into the collections. I'll give you one example very quickly. One of the videos that Daesh did, one of their propaganda videos, they started the video with the following thing: praise be to the Prophet who used to murder people while smiling. Where did that come from? That clearly got into the sources by someone who does not like the Prophet to ruin his image. So therefore the Hadith collections have to be very, very much verified, because that does not go against, that goes against everything Prophet Muhammad stood for.
Yeah.
So that's where, look, they both go hand in hand. So it's very difficult to say one's over the other, but the Quran is the one you can rely on more as such, because that doesn't need to be verified as such like the Hadith do.
I think the way you see it is Muhammad is like the walking, talking Quran. That is what he is.
Yeah,
So
but still need to verify what the Hadith says. It still needs to be
you'd still need to verify that the person who's narrating it is trustworthy.
Yeah.
So it's very strict in terms of you wouldn't just accept a narration from anybody. So that's the.
It's interesting to me at the start you were saying that there are elements of Muslim history that you really don't like, and just sort of listening to what we're saying. I think it's really important that as Westerners we should also recognise that there are periods of Western history that we really don't like, and that we are quite rightly ashamed of, but other people then will laud, and also there's and in this kind of, it's a really important that we engage with those horrendous dimensions of what it means to be human, not what it means to be Muslim or Christian or Shi'a or Sunni. But and then to look at some of these statements and sort of say, so you know, which of these are really positive, which ones are really strong, which ones are really questionable.
No, definitely. Sorry.
If the Sunni and Shiite Muslims married, would there be real conflict with the bringing up of...
We always get that question. There's actually a really good film that was created. It's a really good film.
How easy would it be bringing up the children?
I believe if you're very serious about your religion, it's kind of not, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
If religion is not the number one thing in your life, okay, but it's more of a cultural thing, it works. I have it in my family. And yes, the children do get confused. They will say, I'm a Sunni to their Sunni side and a Shia to their Shia side, okay? But it's very common actually. It's very common.
It's a lot more common than people think.
Yeah. But I do think because there's such sensitive issues, if you are very serious about your religion, it's not going to really work.
So it's the same really in any religion,
isn't
it?
Yeah,
it's how
because
serious you are.
it is because, for example, like me and Zamir, we disagree on core things.
Yeah.
So it's like we're respectful around one another, but you wouldn't be able to see two people like that being together, because in the upbringing of the children, you disagree on what should be given importance.
Two connected questions. First of all, if we have in the classroom setting, would our Muslim students generally be happy to identify themselves, do you think, as Sunni or Shia?
It's difficult. It depends on the culture of your school. Me as a teacher in my first year, I didn't tell people I was a Shia Muslim. I couldn't. I was not scared. I didn't want to cause any kind of uncomfortable with the kids. But it depends on the nature of your school. Usually, I was very surprised when I did this lesson I did with year 7. Right? Some didn't know what they were. And that made the lessons much better actually, because they were much more objective. Now there's very, very strong Sunni kids, Abu Bakr, Abu Bakr, Abu Bakr, okay? But people who didn't know what they were, they looked at it much more objectively and they did the evidence properly. So usually, as I said, there's not going to be many Shias in your school. The Shia Muslim is going to be up to them. Now, you got to remember, and I speak from experience, and my family members and people I know, Shia Muslims, you know, it's not comfortable sometimes to tell people. So it does depend on how confident they are themselves and the culture of your school, I think. But they would do. I wouldn't say they wouldn't. They wouldn't. They should do.
The follow-up to that is you taught this on Friday. How, I don't know what your school's like, but do you have Muslim students and how did they respond to this lesson?
I have a minority of Muslim students in my school. My school is largely made up of white working class students. So a lot of my students didn't know what Sunni Shia were. They don't have much knowledge about Islam apart from what they see on the news and what they see me doing, really. So the students in my class were Sunni, but even like you were saying, some of them weren't sure on what, because I don't think at that age their parents, actually, especially if you're Sunni, you don't sit down and talk about, okay, this is what happened, this is why you're a Sunni. I myself didn't know which one I was when I was growing up. I came across the terminology when I did GCSE. So sometimes they won't identify themselves. My kids didn't. They were sitting there going, wait, miss, am I Sunni? And I was like, you're Bengali, you're from this area. I'm presuming you're Sunni, but, you know, it's up to you. But it depends on the students. I think you had...
I just think, as a teacher where a lot of my students are Muslim, if I was teaching this, and hopefully I will go back and use some of my lessons, I think the first thing that would be important is what you did in your PowerPoint, is to clear the misconceptions. Because I know definitely for a fact, when I teach this lesson, there'll be misconceptions. Some of the things that you've seen on there, I've heard some of my Muslim students say. So I think to start off a lesson would be to clear the misconceptions about Shia Islam.
See, the reason why I didn't put that on that lesson was because I did that in a previous lesson where we spent an entire lesson just going over stereotypes and misconceptions that they might have about Shias and correcting them. So it is something like you could do it in a starter, or you could just, like I spent a lesson on it because I thought it was necessary. Yeah.
I've only just come again, sorry, but I've used a lot of some of those resources that you've got before on the Save RE group, and it's really, really powerful to talk about this to the students. And I'm really happy, you know, I know the GCSE reform is tricky for us, but one of the things I'm glad is that I'm going to have the chance to actually talk about this. Yeah. And my kids, when I've raised it with them, they've just been really, really interested. And yesterday I did a lesson on feminism. We had a really long discussion about the hadiths and the accuracy or not, and I've been shied away from it in the past. But actually exploring it with the kids is really powerful. One year 13 girl, when I asked her if she thought, if I said, was there any Shias in the school? She said, oh, you'd come out as gay before Shia in this school. And that was her response. So I thought, well, that's something we need to talk about.
That does tend to happen. I mean, in my last school, when I said that, you know, we should respect Shias and I was talking about Shias, I had the kids go around telling everybody, you know, Miss isn't our type of Muslim. So you get those, but that's what we're here for, to challenge those misconceptions. Yeah. Yeah, 2 more minutes.
Been doing some work with some schools in Enfield and Islington around the Alawi community.
Yeah.
And the Alavis have faced similar kind of, and there's a real sense of uncertainty around their self-identification, whether they're Muslim, Shia Muslim, or non-Muslim, and this is absolutely critical in terms of self-identity and self-worth. And valuing one's culture and backgrounds. This is fascinating.
Any other?
But I think primary school teachers there.
Yeah, we do need to.
Because we had to give ask Hasia to speak to you for one.
I've managed to keep.
Sure.
Sorry.
We do have a break afterwards.
Yeah,
If any primary school teachers do want to catch me for any information or ideas, just grab me.
We were going to have a Q&A, but it's
yeah, it has just turned into a Q&A. That's fine.
In terms of mosques and going to worship, would Shia and Sunni worship together, or would you go to your own mosques?
We have our own mosques,
Yeah.
but there's no way, there's no reason why you do not worship. I'm in a majority Sunni school. I pray Friday prayer with them. I pray normal prayer with them. I pray a bit differently with the rock I worship on the floor, but they've accepted it. And likewise, if they come to my mosque, absolutely fine. And that's encouraged, by the way. Yeah.
I've had Shia students before, as we've been doing Islam, just saying this isn't my kind of Islam, this isn't Islam to me.
Yeah.
And I actually wasn't very understanding myself at that time. I know more now. but they said there is no obligation on a Shia to go to mosque at all.
I don't know about that. Oh, I mean, is it an obligation to go to the mosque?
Isn't it like they should?
It's good
it's
to,
more.
very, very good
There's
to.
more.
Yeah, more spiritual benefit.
Yeah, there's more reward in you praying your
Yeah.
prayer in the mosque.
congregation.
Was Ali killed in a mosque?
He was
Yeah.
killed. Okay, oh, I see what you mean. That is something mainstream Shias reject.
Okay.
That's a very, very
I think
unorthodox
that's-
view. And they also say you don't have to pray either because he died in prayer. That's really offshoot. I disassociate myself with that completely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was only going to ask about the rock at the end.
Okay, I'll
You
tell you.
mentioned earlier on that we come from the earth and then
Yeah.
we pray to.
There's a real, there's a session later on prayer, but I'm not in that. But quick thing, as a Shia Muslim, I believe you have to pray on something, so not to something, I'll clarify that, on something natural. If I pray on something I can wear or I can eat, okay, my prayer is not valid. I'll tell you why. When you pray, you escape the material world. Eating, wearing is materialistic. This rock that we pray on, or piece of earth, all it is, it can be a leaf as well, as long as it's natural. I go into prostration twice at a time. My first prayer, my first prostration is symbolic of me saying, "My Lord, you made me from earth." I get up and I do it again, "My Lord, I'll return to earth." When you pray, you're reminded of where you came from and where you return. This piece of earth in particular, okay, that Shia Muslims pray on, is from the land of Karbala, where Hussein is buried, okay? But I can get this grass or the land of any piece of earth. This land is sacred to me, therefore I pray on it, that's all. Also to me, it's a souvenir, it's been with me, it's been to all my pilgrimages with me, okay? That's why I carry it. So I have to pray on something natural, that's the only thing. If I pray on carpet, because carpet is material I can wear, I can't pray on that. That's all it means. I'm not praying to it. That's the key thing. That's the philosophy behind this. Yes?
At the risk of being a bit controversial here, that to me is why it needs to be religious education.
Yeah,
religious
I agree.
studies,
Yeah.
rather than philosophy and ethics.
I agree.
Because
Totally
that's
agree.
beautiful,
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful in terms of what it means to be human.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's
I
wait till
think-
Deborah kick us out. She's not here yet, so we can carry on.
Can we carry on?
Deborah's
Is there
not.
anyone? No. Okay.
Any more? Oh, if you're finished, finish. Any more?
I mean, we're here throughout
Yeah,
the whole
we're
day,
here
so
throughout
you
the whole
can
day,
bug us whenever you see it.
Is there a story or a record of how God chose Ali?
Okay, I can look at it in a very metaphysical way. I believe the first thing God ever made before the universe was Prophet Muhammad's light, Prophet Muhammad's essence. And from that essence, the Imams, Ali, were made from that same light. So even before existence of the universe, I believe they were made. So in essence, God had already chosen them as such. From an earthly point of view, I again believe, this is a very cheeky answer, but it's pretty true. People ask me who was the first ever Shia. Now, I can be historical and say, okay, the one I gave you, the people who stayed loyal to Ali. If I'm being very, very cheeky and theological, if a Shia Muslim believes Prophet Muhammad is the final prophet and the Imams and successors, I believe Adam was the first Shia then. Because I believe that every single prophet had this belief in them. Okay, Prophet Muhammad had not come then, but they knew that it was going to come. Okay? So this idea of prophets having a successor, being Ali, and so on and so forth, is there amongst all the prophets. But officially on the earth, we believe it announced it quite clear to everybody. And if you look at the Quran, you've got 2 verses in chapter 5 of the Quran. The first verse, I'll give you the reference afterwards. My memory is bad on this one. I think it's 567. God says to the Prophet, give the message to the people. If you don't give them this message, you've almost failed your mission. And after this revelation, we believe Prophet Muhammad announced, whoever is my master, whoever I'm the master of, Ali is the master. Then chapter 5, verse 3 came out. And that said, I have now completed your religion, God saying to the Prophet, and chosen Islam as your religion. So that's the key moment in history where the Quran, the Prophet, everything verified. That's the moment Ali is the successor of Prophet Muhammad.
And we interpret that differently. Completely differently. But, yeah.
How would you interpret that then?
Which one? Firstly,
The second one.
Firstly, that hadith, like I said, is seen to be just an occasion where something happened and the Prophet was just clarifying that, he is of me and so you should respect him the same way you respect me. But the way in which that verse is interpreted, we wouldn't say...
It's hard to teach this because it involves Arabic. So if I use the Arabic, Prophet said, whoever I'm the Mawla of, Ali is the Mawla. Mawla has 20 different meanings. Now,
This is the thing.
But But I can still prove it. Before that,
I can prove it too.
I can still prove it.
I can prove it as well.
Right before he said that statement, he said, "Who considers me as their Mawla?" Everyone says, "We do, we do, we do." Then he goes, "Whoever I am the Mawla of, Ali is the Mawla of." Now, Sunnis interpret it as guardian, not guardian, friend to be a friend of.
Friend / guardian.
For us, Mawla, another one's master. Now, I don't believe Allah is my friend. I believe he's my master. And the fact that Prophet Muhammad contextualized it beforehand proves it to us. We call God Mawla as well. Mawla is a very common thing in the Quran and in the supplications we have. We call God Mawla, master. Okay, so we take it as the word master. They'll see it as the guardian. So for them it's more of a reactionary thing in terms of don't be bad about Ali.
This is the issue. When I was speaking to individuals, I was saying how it's about interpretation. And the Arabic language, if you ever decide to study, it is incredibly complex. You have the root word of it, and then from that you have like 20 different words, that meanings that it can have. And this is what causes the issue.
On that note, because I'm going to try and link this spec as much as possible, the moment that happened is a day of Eid for us. Once a year. It's the biggest Eid. Okay, it's the day God completed the religion, the day Ali was appointed the leader officially to the people. So again, just like you saw us mourning, flip that around, that'd be us wearing white, mosque is white, we have a cake, poetry. Again, it's a very, very joyous occasion for us. We believe Ali was appointed leader that day.
And we don't, we just have the 2 Eids. And if you're Sufi, then you have the Prophet's birthday, but that's it. Oh yes, that's another whole session on its own, I think.
Okay, I think
that's,
trouble,
I think Deborah's going to, thank you.